This is a presentation of National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasters, 70 weekly shows, and a 3.4-star rating on Roku TV. Here we go, folks. It's Mac Attack with his newest video, as we're going to talk about boxing, one of my favorite sports. You have to go NFL, boxing, then maybe MLB. Because I've been a huge boxing fan all my life. And being with Network, I've interviewed and talked with some of the biggest boxing authorities and experts in the sports. Promoter Bob Arum and Russell Peltz, boxing icons Jerry Cooney, John Scully, and light heavyweight champion, or heavyweight champion, I should say, Joe Smith. Experts like Max Keller, Frank Lotierzo, and of course, my co-host, Hall of Fame boxing writer, Jack Hirsch. Fans in my generation, there's a lot of frustration. We can't watch boxing on TV anymore like we used to. And because of that, they really just stopped following it. It's part of boxing's fault, too. They really don't promote their fighters like they used to. But you used to be able to turn on NBC, ABC, and there were the best heavyweights, middleweights, and welterweights, and even lightweights in the world fighting on regular network TV. Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman, Marvin Hagler versus Sugar Ray Leonard. We saw Sugar Ray Leonard fight a bunch of times. Thomas Hearns, Roberto Duran. And the sponsors picked up the tab. There really was no PPV. There was no pay-per-view. Now, you have to pay almost $90 for a really promoted good fight. And even an average fight, you're going to have to pay-per-view. I guess it's something with my generation. They're not going to do it. Unless you're, a boxing diehard fan like a Frank Lotierzo that'll buy anything, basically. Except the YouTube fights, right? There's too much time in between fights. I mean, you got this heavyweight or middleweight or whatever, and he takes off a year and a half. Way too many title holders. You have like 3 different champions for one weight class. The general public does not know who the heavyweight champion is. Never mind the middleweight. The welterweight, the heavyweights, they're big. That's their big show. That's their big guy. It's just a mess. It's a mess between greedy promoters and sanctioning bodies that just basically hate each other. And before I go any further, I want to give a shout out to New York Times writer Turki Al Sheik. I'm going to give him a lot of credit for a lot of this information I've been providing for you. And it might be eye-opening. See, the huge promoters have a stable of fighters, Top Rank, Golden Boy. They have stables of fighters. And they want to keep that title within their stable. Very hard to make a big fight between 2 guys from different promoters. Takes a lot of money and a lot of time and an act of God to get something like this. So when it eventually goes pay-per-view, you're going to pay up near $100 to watch this. And most fighter fans from my generation, they're not going to do that. Just a general principle. They don't even know who the guys are. So it's like if you go up to anybody in the street and say, who is the heavyweight champion? They look at you like you're crazy. That wasn't like that when I was growing up. You had one heavyweight champion. They knew Muhammad Ali was a heavyweight champion, or George Foreman or Joe Frazier were the heavyweight champions. They knew that. All the way to Mike Tyson, even into the 90s, 80s into the 90s. Everybody knew Mike Tyson was the heavyweight champion, or Lennox Lewis. And guess what? Back when Ali fought, everyone was undisputed. There wasn't 5 different sanctioning bodies. And if you win a title, as my co-host Jack says, in some of these sanctioning bodies, if you don't have a fight within a certain time against a certain person, they take it away from you. They take the belt away from you. Do you realize the last United States heavyweight champion was John Ruiz in 2005, 19 years ago? Potential U.S. fighters don't even go to boxing anymore. They'll go to MMA or they'll play another sport. It's such a grind to get up to be that top fighter. The biggest fighters, the most known, they get the money. The ones in the middle, they're not making any money. So they're not even pursuing it like they used to. Not here in the United States anyway. To all the experts I have talked about this, what they can do, what they should do, they all say it's gone too far. Has it though? Don't look now. There's a new sheriff in boxing. He's not from here. And right or wrong, I'm not sure how I feel about it. But Turki Al Sheik is in town with $1 billion in his arsenal. He's the chairman of Saudi Arabia General Entertainment. Saudi Arabia, through their investment company, has already gotten into golf and invested billions of dollars in soccer. And now wants its own professional boxing league. Its business model is similar to MMA, UFC. Get the best pound for pound boxers in each weight class. And the boxers could move up in their weight class or be eliminated and new talent put into these classes. The proposal is awaiting financing, and this will gather the top 200 boxers in the world. And they would take these top 200 boxers and fill out the weight classes. The biggest sticking point right now is some of the boxers already are attached. They have long-term contracts with high-profile promoters that are tied to TV networks. So discussions have already begun of possible full or potential investments into the promotion agencies by the Saudi Arabia Investment Company. Now, all the things that we complain about being boxing fans. My first fight was Ali versus Frazier, right? The 1971 fight of the year, fight of the century. And if you have a chance, go to YouTube and just watch this fight. It's an incredible fight. The boxer versus the swarmer, right? The dancer versus the puncher. Incredible fight. One of the greatest fights of all time, easily. And we have complained they take too much time off. The way this league will be structured, there will be a requirement of minimum fights per year. So the top boxers aren't going to take a year and a half, 2 years off before they fight again. This is what fans have said they wanted. This is what the experts say can't be done. It's like a wild west out there. Everybody's making their own rules. Now, this would change. Saudi has already had a couple fights under the belt. The Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk fight, which was unbelievably productive. It was huge. Said to make over $100 million. The profit from this, the Saudis gave away to broadcast companies. In illegal streaming that happens, they do this every time there's a big fight. It wasn't taken down or even attempted to be taken down by the Saudis. Why? Because they wanted as many views as possible on their first fight. The Crawford Madrimov action-packed fight, the super welterweight title. Let me take another shot at that. Crawford Madrimov was very close. A very good fight, action-packed again. Crawford, well, he got the win. It's a very close win, even though it was unanimous. After the fight, Crawford has been trying to fight Canelo Alvarez, probably the biggest draw in boxing. If you fight Canelo Alvarez, you're going to make a lot of money. And this is Crawford's been trying to do for a year or so now. After the fight, the new sheriff said, hey, I call it a draw. You're going to fight Madrimov again before we even talk about fighting Canelo. This is something a commissioner would do. Every boxing authority I've talked about, I said, boxing is too far gone. It'll never come back. Now, I'm not saying it's going to under this. I'm saying there is control. There would be control. If everything that they're saying for this new league, headed by the new sheriff, Turek, it's sort of like the MMA. If you want to box for me, if you want to be in this league and make a lot of money, these are the rules you're going to have to box by. And the promoters have nobody but to blame but themselves. Nobody. They're the ones that put it in this position. Greedy promoters, warring sanctioning bodies. Folks, there's a new sheriff in town. And I believe he has a good shot at doing this because boxing is at a place where it's broken. Turk says he's going to fix it. And this new sheriff has billions of bullets loaded into that gun. The question is the United States going to have boxers participating in this league? Right now, we just don't have them. Terrence Crawford. There you go. Boot tennis, maybe. Some of our finest boxers are no longer heavyweights. They're in the lighter divisions. I'll tell you the truth. I'm being a big boxing fan. I don't even know who the middleweight champion is. I don't even know who the contenders are. And that's in every division, really. I know Terrence Crawford because he's had a couple big fights lately. Does the boxing world want Saudi Arabia to run boxing? Well, the investment company in Turki said they're not just going to hold boxing events in Saudi Arabia. They want to do this around the world. They want to have them in the United States, in Europe. This is going to be very interesting, folks. If you're old school, I don't know how you feel. Is there going to be matches that aren't pay-per-view? Will this kind of format encourage young fighters to stay in boxing or to go into boxing when they can make huge amounts of money if they make it to this league that they're going to try and set up? Very interesting, if nothing else. And can they grab back in those novice fans, those fans that aren't diehards? And what does Jake Paul and his YouTube crowd do here? Because he's sure not one of the best boxers in the world. What do the promotion companies do if this comes to fruition? I mean, right now, everything is okay because all these money's coming into these promoters as they invest in their companies. What's going to happen when there is a hostile takeover, or if there's a takeover at all? I think it's going to happen, folks. And you're going to see boxing maybe making a comeback.